You are listening to the Mad Music Marketing Minutes podcast with your host, Billy Gryzak. Brought to you by MusicMarketingMind.com. Personal music career support services. The show starts in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
All right, everybody, we are back once again with the Mad Music Marketing Minutes podcast. I am your music marketing mind, Billy Gryzak, and as always, it's great to have you all here joining us today. This is going to be an amazing conversation. I usually talk a whole bunch before and tell you about all different kind of stuff I'm doing, but I'm not even going to do that today because I don't want to muck up the works because I just want to get right down to it. So today, without any further ado, any further distractions or introductions, we have Michael Brandvold here, who has been referred to on my Facebook marketing support group, music marketing support group, as the Michael Brandvold. So,
not Mr. The.
Yes, the. So anyway, here we are, and just please, Michael, thank you so much for being here today. And why don't you just jump and tell us who you are for the uninformed who haven't been experienced to what you do yet. Tell us who you are, what you do, and let's get a conversation going about the basics of the music biz.
Well, I'm a marketing consultant. I help artists of all sizes, from the smallest, brand new, unsigned unknowns to the biggest signed international stars. I help them with online marketing, digital strategies, content strategies. There isn't one thing that applies to everybody. It's fun. It's funny, you know. I don't want to go off onto a side already, but everybody's always like, so what package do you have that would help my band? And I'm like, there is no one package that works for every band. Every band is completely unique because your sound is completely different. Your problems are completely different. Your branding, everything is completely different. So I always work with bands and come up with what they need specific to them. In my career, I started working in the music industry in 1987. I started working independent record labels. I've worked at management companies. I've worked at music magazines. I've stage managed music events. I've had my hand in a little bit of everything across all parts of the music industry. But really, I got into it deep in 98 when I moved from Chicago to San Francisco, and I started working for a merchandising company that, when you go to that concert, you buy the concert T-shirt and the hat, the tour book. This was a company that makes all that stuff. And back in 98, they were getting into the internet, and they were building the first website for KISS. And Gene Simmons told them they needed to hire me to do it because I was a big KISS fan. So I basically got involved in the internet back in 98, building websites for artists, managing e-commerce, eventually ticketing programs, online fan clubs, basically doing everything related to an artist except selling their music, because the record labels were still around back then, and that was what they did. We made money for artists doing everything other than selling music. And it's kind of ironic that is now where all the money is made. You don't make money selling music anymore. You make money doing everything but selling music. So it's kind of interesting that that's where I got my foot in the door. But I've worked with KISS. I've worked with Motley Crue, Madonna, Britney Spears, Jessica Simpson, Ozzy Osbourne, U2, Fleetwood Mac, Rod Stewart. List goes on and on. That, I work with them in different capacities of websites, fan clubs, ticketing, online stores, you name it. Some of my current clients right now, I'm working with Dream Theater. I've been with Dream Theater for not quite 2 years. I'm working with Accept. I've worked with Bumblefoot, who's Guns N' Roses lead guitarist. I've worked with Soil, Tantric. The list goes on and on. I guess at any point in time, I've probably got a half a dozen to a dozen clients that I'm working with right now. All of them, like I said, in different capacities. Some of them, I will create their digital strategies, and they have people in their team that implement it. And others, I create the strategies and I implement it, meaning I'm the one that's posting stuff on Facebook. I'm posting on Twitter. I'm monitoring YouTube. I'm directing all of that stuff. So it all depends on, each artist's situation.
And before we move on, what is the name of your company?
Michael Brandvold Marketing. Very easy to remember.
And, one of the things I always found fascinating about what you do compared to a lot of the other folks that are out there involved in similar lines of work is you're not a musician, correct?
Never been a musician. And I don't hide that fact. I tell people that quite a bit because I've had people who are like, "You're not a musician. What do you know about music and bands and stuff like that?" And I'm like, well, let's see. I'm a music fan. I've been a fan since I remember my very first paycheck, and I would take that paycheck and go to Musicland. People remember what Musicland is. And I'd buy the vinyl LP, and I'd buy a blank cassette tape, and like every 2 weeks, I was doing that. I was buying music. I remember going to concerts, and I remember walking out of there with 2 concert T-shirts, a tour book, a cap. I'm to this day, I still buy my tickets. I still buy my music. I still am in artist fan clubs. I am the person a band should be interested in.
Yes,
because let's be honest. Do you you're making music. Are you making music to impress the lead guitarist in the band across town, or are you making music to get fans?
Or worse, are you making music with blinders on for yourself?
Well, yeah. I mean, you listen. You need everything you do is all about your fans today. It's plain and simple. That's it. You're doing this for fans. Well, let's put it this way: if you've decided to go into a studio and you want to record music and you've decided to press it on CD, you're doing that because you want other people to hear it. If all you care about is your girlfriend and your mom hearing it, you don't need to go through all these hoops. You can save yourself a lot of money, press a CDR and give it to them, and you're done. But, 99.99% want to go out there and have other people hear their music. And those are fans. And you've got to be a fan. You've got to think like a fan. I'm a fan. I'm not a musician. I'm not going to tell a client, here's how that guitar solo should sound. Here's how that bridge should be. I've never written a song. I can't play the guitar. And an interesting story that I've told before is I sat at a showcase panel a couple years ago. It was myself, a couple managers, a couple label A&R people. And, of course, the A&R people were like, okay, that song was great, but you guys need to work on the bridge a little bit, or the chorus was weak, or your lyrics were blah, blah, blah. And when it came to me, I'm kind of panicking because I'm like, what the hell am I going to say here? I'm not a musician. I don't know if they're in tune. I don't know. I couldn't write a song if my life depended upon it. And then it dawned on me, and what I told the artist was, listen, these 2 guys that just told you about your song, that's their job. And when they do their job right, what I end up with as the marketing person is a great song. It's not my job as the marketing person to make a great song. It's the A&R rep's job. My job is to get a fan interested in you. And what you were lacking, and what I would tell them, like in the showcase, is, you're standing on stage, and when you did your guitar solo, you turned your back to me and played your solo to your amp for the next 30 seconds. That was boring. I wanted to connect with you as the fan. Or when you were looking out over the crowd, you never made eye contact with me. So why should I connect to you? It was stuff like that where I'm like, you've got to market yourself. That's my job, is to market yourself. I'm hoping you deliver to me the best product you can to market. But I'm not going to sit in the studio and tell you I'll tell you if I like a song, but that doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter whether I like a song or not.
Yeah, the audience doesn't know why. The average music fan doesn't know why they like something. They just know whether they do or not.
Yeah, they it's, listen, we all will experience it. Why do you get chills up the back of your spine when one song plays? Why does the hair stand up on your neck? What makes you close your eyes and drift away into a song? It's different for everybody, and that's what's beautiful about music. But that's what makes a great song. I can't tell you what that is, and it's going to be different for everybody.
I think more musicians actually need to listen to people like you. They need to listen to people that are fans of music, not musicians. We were going to talk today a little bit about the basics, of being in the business and stuff. And one thing I've been finding out lately is, I think a lot of people that are into music get really into like the social or the marketing or the rock stardom of it, and they start listening to other musicians. You know what I mean? There's so many groups of musicians out there telling each other this and that and the other thing, but I don't think they spend enough time actually listening to people that are going to listen to the music. You know what I'm saying? I see that a lot.
Yeah, I completely see that. I mean, listen, I'm not saying you shouldn't give a rat's ass about your fellow musicians, because it's a community and you need to work and support each other. But, some other lead guitarist or lead vocalist telling you what's right or wrong, why are they special? Did they even buy your music? You may have given them a free CD. You care about that person that had to spend $10 to come to the bar to see you, and might be one of 12 people in the bar who paid. That's who you care about. You don't care about the other bands that might look down on you because that guitar solo, doesn't sound quite as intricate as their guitar solo. It's not what you're about. You're about the fans. You got to keep it simple, and you got to connect to the fans. And I will tell many clients, it's a topic that you could discuss forever, but I firmly believe a band can never be a fan of themselves.
Oh, absolutely. I mean,
you can like your music and you can love what you do, but you can never truly be a fan of yourself. And they're like, "No, that's bullshit. I'm a big fan of my band." I'm like, "No, you're not a fan, because here's the difference. At the simplest, a fan is in the audience and you're on the stage. And you will always be on the stage and they will always be in the audience. That differentiation between you two is you will never experience your band from the audience unless you get kicked out of it, I suppose. And, you're gonna always know what your band is planning. You're always going to know what these unreleased songs in the studio sound like. Your fans are craving to know that information. You're never going to have that craving for your own band like a fan has. But you're a fan of somebody else. You're a fan of Paul McCartney. What do you feel? How do you think? What drives you nuts about Paul McCartney? When you hear that Paul McCartney's got a new album coming out, do you all of a sudden think, "Oh God, I can't wait to hear the first single. Oh my God, there's rumors that Paul McCartney's going on tour. I can't wait to get the tour dates to see if he's coming to San Francisco." That's a fan. That's the fan. You need to always remember that feeling, that connection, what makes them excited, because your fans are going to have those same feelings about you.
There's a great song by now suddenly just went out of my mind. The guy that did a song a week, Jonathan Colton. He did a song called "Tom Cruise Crazy." Have you ever heard it?
I don't think so.
Okay, the kicker of the story talks all about Tom Cruise, but the punchline is, it's a shame that Tom Cruise is the only person on the planet that can't enjoy Tom Cruise.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, that's exactly it. And I'm not saying that you can't be a fan. It's not a bad statement I'm making. It's just you will never see yourself through the eyes of your fan.
Well, no, I mean it's you're just too close to it, for starters.
Well, you are it.
Yeah,
you are it. It's not that you're too close to it. You are it.
Mm. So I have a question for you. So whether you've been in the business forever or you're just getting started out, we have one fella in our group, in the Music Marketing Mind support group. He's 15. And boy, he's a great contributor. He's always jumping in and trying to learn everything about the music business. And then we have some folks like me that have been around. We're older than dirt. You know what I mean? And I'm still learning stuff. What do you think we need to do to get back to basics? A little bit here, because everybody's kind of jumping in the middle, and there's like all these options for whether it's recording or marketing, promotion, and you hear all these things, a lot of noise, lots of things to do. And I mean, aside from obviously you want to write great songs. I mean, that's pretty much a given, right?
Well, I mean, nothing matters if you don't have a great song.
And then you want to have a great live show.
And you've got to perform live.
Okay. No.
I mean, as much as the music industry has completely changed itself, those two things are still the same. Nothing matters if you don't have a great song, and you still have to go out and play live if you want to connect to your fans. If you don't have either of those, nothing else matters. It doesn't matter what your website looks like. It doesn't matter that you've got a Facebook page. It doesn't matter how much you're active on Twitter. If your music sucks and you never go play live, it's all pointless.
So what's the next step?
Well, like you said, assuming you've done some great recordings and made some great songs.
Assuming you don't suck.
assuming you've put together the best songs you possibly can, meaning you've done your time of writing and recording and writing and recording and writing and recording and practice and practice and practice. And, you've done all of that and you still do all of that. I think the next step is still, you've got to look at things simply. You've got to look at it from a basic level. It's all about making friends. That's what your job is now. You're in a band, and your job is to make friends with people who are going to become fans. All of these computer websites, tools, applications, whatever you want to call them that are out there, that and in the music industry, seems like there's a new one coming every week. They're all great, but they're all just tools. They're not going to do it for you. They're the biggest thing I always encounter is young bands who think, great, I've got the CD done. Now you'll get me 1,000 fans by Monday. Well, isn't that what all these programs and websites will do for me? No, they won't. You still have to go out there and connect with these fans, and you've got to put the time in. They are tools to help you do that, but there's not a push one button and have 1,000 fans by Monday. I kind of just, use the example of, it's like the American culture is all about, well, I want to go on a diet and I want to lose weight. Can I just take a pill and sit on the couch and lose 10 pounds?
I want that pill.
That everybody wants that. That's why the infomercials are filled with, get your bottle of whatever, all natural, 1995. You're going to lose 10 pounds, blink of an eye, without getting off of the couch. That doesn't work. We all know if you really want to lose weight, you got to eat right and you got to exercise. But nobody wants to put that time in. We want to just get right to losing weight tomorrow. And many bands are the same way. It's like they want to just get to a fan base of 10,000 fans by next week. Well, it could take you years to get to 10,000 fans.
Oh, yeah.
Years of working. And all of a sudden when you say that, you can just, in many bands, you can just see their eyes gloss over and go, oh, I just don't want to do that.
Oh, I've seen that happen so many times. I've worked with some bands and some artists myself, and once I took them through the process of, this is what you need to do. You need to do this consistency, right?
Yeah.
You need to do this every day. And they're like, I just want to release songs. I don't want to do all this stuff.
Yeah.
And then they wonder why they don't have a record deal, which is a whole other conversation for another day.
Well, but at the end of the day, what that tells me is it separates those bands that are going to make it from those that aren't. Because there is a band, you might be in a band and you might not want to put in all that legwork. You might not want to put in the concept of 10,000 hours to get to it. And if that's what you do, if that's your decision and you don't want to do that, It's your decision. But what I will tell you is there's another band down the street that's going to put the 10,000 hours in. And that band is going to succeed.
And they might not be as good looking. They might not sound as good. They might not write as songs as good as you do. They might not put on as good a show as you do. But they're willing to do the work, and you're not.
Well, yeah, and in this day and age, we said you've got to have a great song. But having a great song alone is not all it takes.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you record great music and you do nothing to market it and promote it, nobody's going to hear about it. You know, how does somebody know a great album is recorded if it's never presented to people?
Exactly.
Yet, you know, and the example I always use is you've got people like Rebecca Black, who records pure crap, but markets the crap out of it, and guess what? It's all over the place. But, so, you know, if you've got great songs and you're going to market and promote, you stand a better chance than the person who just said, listen, I've got great music and my music's going to do the speaking for me. No, it's not. It's not going to tell anybody shit.
That's right. And the thing is, it's like, I'm amazed at the people that don't want to do anything, and then they're mad at everybody else, like Rebecca Black, that's making $1 million. But hey, they got off the couch. They got off the couch. They did things. They worked their, you know, that song just didn't happen overnight for no reason. Somebody worked their butt off to make it happen. You know?
Yeah, well, yeah, somebody did. There was a team. There was a team behind the artist.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, my whole philosophy about this new do-it-yourself is it's not you doing it yourself. I'm not expecting that you, the solo singer-songwriter, or you, the lead singer in the band, has to write, record, rehearse, tour, design your own covers, build your own websites, set up your own servers, do your own Facebook, do your own Twitter, edit your own videos. You can't do it all yourself. You can't, because you still have to be first and foremost the musician. Because again, if you're not the musician, none of this other stuff is going to matter.
Mm-hmm.
But do it yourself really means putting a team together that works for you. So you are the band, and when the time comes, you go out and hire a graphic artist to design your album cover. And when they're done, you get rid of them. When you want to do some radio promotion, you hire a radio promoter to do radio promotion. When you are doing publicity, you hire a publicist. When you need a website built, you hire a web designer. You hire people as you need them to be on your team. You're the boss. You bring them in, you let them go. Let people come in and do what they are experts at. And you should be the expert at being the musician. I'm not expecting you to be the expert at everything.
That is like fantastic advice. A lot of people think DIY means DIY.
Yeah, it scares them because they're like, I don't have enough time to do all that. And no, you don't. And I wouldn't expect you to do it all because at least for me, when I work with clients, I do understand that they have to tour, they have to do all this other stuff to be the musician first and foremost. But you have to then, if it's important enough to you, you then do bring in a team to support you. And maybe for 2 months, you bring in a marketing person who helps you with a content strategy and helps you by making posts while you're busy touring and rehearsing and creating the content while they're on the road, sending it back to somebody else to post. That's fine. But you've got to bring in the people to help and support you. If you don't do that, nothing's going to happen. Because it's a very, very few artists that can truly do everything themselves.
True. So what are some of the things that, at least in the beginning stages, that you think the artists should do themselves? Like you mentioned posting, for instance. Is that really important?
Well, I think artists need to get comfortable with the concept of posting. They need to get comfortable with the concept of engaging with their fans online. And that means maybe it's only on Facebook, maybe it's only on Twitter, maybe it's only YouTube. It's whatever one you're comfortable with. I do not believe an artist needs to be on every single platform. You need to be on at least the ones to me that matter the most are, besides your own website, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. Those three matter the most. And if you can master those and get comfortable with those, then go out and worry about Pinterest and Tumblr and anything else that comes along. But I just see too many artists who are like on 12 different social networks, and they spread themselves so thin that they don't do anything right on any of them. And I would rather you do it right on one social network and ignore the other 11 than do it wrong on everything.
Yeah, I've often wondered, like, for instance, for years, I don't like to type very much, but I love doing videos and audio. And I always thought, as an artist, when I'm doing my own music, if I could just rely solely on YouTube, as my soul means, just pour my heart and soul into that, if that would be a good way to go, you know. But I've always chickened out and kept doing the Facebook and the Twitter, you know.
I mean, those three matter just because they are sheer numbers. That's where people are. But even there, you know, there's a lot of people who are on Facebook and not on Twitter because they just aren't comfortable on Twitter. And I get that. And I'm not advocating that you should be forced into something that you're not comfortable with. Get comfortable and master what you understand. Then expand out from there. Because the reality is, I see most artists don't even handle one network properly. You know, the vast majority of artists can't even make one post a day on Facebook, let alone worrying about what am I posting on Twitter and then what am I doing on YouTube and then Tumblr and Pinterest and Instagram. You know, it's difficult. It's very difficult. And if you're in a band, you might be able to divvy up the responsibilities and say, drummer, you like videos, so you become our YouTube person. And lead guitarist, you're good on Facebook, and I'll do Twitter, and somebody else, you know, will do another one. You know, that's one way you can look at it. But even there, you know, if the drummer doesn't care about anything, to force them to do YouTube, you're basically still going to end up with crap.
Right. I way back in the day, before they had all this stuff going on, what I used to do when I was hiring musicians, I would try to find, in addition to the singing, performing, and musicianship aspect, I'd always look for one other skill they had that would be helpful to the band. And the thing we always look for was automobile mechanic.
Yeah, I mean, listen, we're not even getting into. It's great to have a guy in the band who can handle some basic accounting duties.
Right.
Maybe somebody who's got a good business sense that can read a contract and understand the basics. Somebody who's kind of a jack of all trades who can repair equipment and cars. You know, you do want to look for that type of stuff because you are going to need that type of stuff. At some point in time, you're going to need it. And if you don't have it within your band, that means you're going to end up having to pay for it.
Right, exactly. Absolutely. By the way, there's one other thing I wanted to... We had Chris F. Jackson on from howtoRunABand.com.
Yeah.
And he recently we were having a chat, and he says the best form of social networking that he can recommend is getting to the gig early and talking to people before the show. And after the show, instead of drinking, shake hands and sign people up for that mailing list. He says that's the best form of social networking there is still.
Listen, social networking is nothing more than making friends. It's just a faster, more efficient way to do that. You can do it in a way now that was not possible before. I mean, 25 years ago, the closest social networking came in the music world was a band doing a record in store and sitting behind a table and having 500 people line up and come through and get 30 seconds of time, and that was it. Unless you were lucky enough to get a coveted backstage pass, and then you got 5 minutes of time after a show. That was social networking. That took a lot of work, a lot of effort, and wasn't efficient. Now you can hit hundreds, if not thousands of fans all at once and have direct connections with them. So it is just making friends. It's just, it's the old saying, pressing the flesh, going out there and shaking hands and saying hi. If your personality is such that you are afraid to meet people, I got to somewhat wonder why you're in this industry. But there are musicians that, listen, I've in the past have dealt with major acts who the lead guitarist was afraid to come out after the show and meet fans.
Wow.
Doesn't want to meet the fans. So, it happens, but, nowadays you really got to think about, okay, if that's the way you're going to be, well, here's the consequences of that. Don't get pissed when you don't have a fan base, because not wanting to talk to your fans means no one's going to engage with you and connect with you on Facebook and Twitter and all this other stuff. So that's fine. Just understand what will happen if you decide to act that way. If you decide to ignore your Facebook, I can't make you do that. I can advise you what will happen and why you should do it, but I can't make anybody do it. And even if they say, Mike, will you do it for me? It's like, fine, I'll do it for you. But, you've only got me on a 3-month retainer, and when I'm done in 3 months, who's going to do it? Nobody.
Mm-hmm.
So unless you want to keep me on permanently, it doesn't matter.
Absolutely. We blew through our time already. I feel like we just got started. 2 questions. Question 1, would you mind maybe coming back again and we'll talk?
I'd love to.
Beautiful, man. It was a pleasure and a thrill. And any last thoughts? Anything you want to throw out there, and then we'll make sure everybody knows how to reach you. And there you go.
So just focus on the basics. Don't get caught up in all of these case studies that tell you the ideal times to do things and days to do things and how many times to do things. Just master the basics. Create a workflow that becomes part of your daily life, that you get up and post every day. And I guarantee you, if you can make 1 post a day to Facebook, you're going to see growth in your fans and your interaction and your engagement. That's all it takes. It's just 1 a day.
Sounds like a vitamin.
Yeah, exactly.
Fantastic. So, Michael Brandvold Marketing, where if somebody wants to email or hit you up on Twitter, maybe wants to talk to you about what you could do for them, any of that, how can they connect with you?
My website's got all of my various networks. So you can start at michaelbrandvold.com. But then on Twitter, I'm Michael SB. You can search for Michael Brandvold Marketing on Facebook. Michael Brandvold is my personal profile. I am everywhere. If you typed in Michael Brandvold and couldn't find me, I'd have to question what you're doing.
Also, real quick, I know people are listening to this podcast. They love podcasts. Tell us about your podcasts real quick. So I've got, how many? 3 or 4? I can't even track them now. The first and the oldest is the Music Biz Weekly, 138 episodes. I do that with my co-host Brian Thompson. Every week we just get on and shoot the shit about what's going on in the music world. Sometimes it's marketing, sometimes it's business, sometimes it's just opinions. We also have Rockstar Branding Podcast, Brian Thompson, myself, and Greg Kihn, the 80s rock star known for Jeopardy and the breakup song. And we do a short 10, 15-minute podcast talking more of a focus on branding. I've got a brand new show called War Stories from the Music Front with co-host Lauren Weissman, where Lauren and I change the names to protect the guilty, but we talk about our war stories of dealing with clients. So mistakes that have been made by others that we can all learn from. It's some interesting stuff. I've got a fun podcast that's just on the band Kiss, that I'm a big fan of Kiss. So I just get in and talk about Kiss with a couple of their Kiss fans every week.
It's called Three Sides of the Coin. And there is a podcast called Dropping the Needle that I'm going to be bringing back, which is just a fun music podcast as well.
Awesome. Well, once again, man, thank you so much. And I'll be looking forward to all your shows and also your interactions on our Facebook group. It's always fun throwing opinions around with you. I love how you and I'll get into it a little bit. I like that a lot. That's awesome.
Yeah, I love getting into discussions with people because at the end of the day, it's all opinions.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what works for me may not work for you, and what worked for KISS isn't going to work for your band, and what works for your band isn't going to work for the next band. So, it's funny. One of the best pieces of advice I heard was somebody asked Paul Stanley, "What advice would you give a new band?" And his answer was, "Don't listen to anybody's advice."
On that note, I'd like to thank everybody for listening to all of our advice today here.
There you go.
On the Map Music Marketing Minutes podcast. Billy Gryzak. Say goodbye, Michael.
Thanks, everyone. It was a great chatting with you.